you get a hell of a lot of made-up nonsense in the West Ham news. You really do. Can sort of make a bit of an excuse for it when it's international break because there's no news stories around. However, I think in the case of Tim Steidten versus David Moyes and some alleged punch-up, I think some people just fabricate a load of old nonsense. I'll get to that in just a second, but I think the way other stories spring up off the back of something which clearly is just not true is unbelievable. Look, we got a game today. We've got an important game, but not a crucial game. We play Olympiacos, of course, this evening. Now, I do have a habit of every game saying, this is a game, it's a key game, it's a crunch game. This game can change our season. This game is pivotal. So I'm going to break the habit of a lifetime. I'm going to say now, actually, this game isn't crucial. There you go. I've said it. Put bluntly, it'd be a good game to win. Really would. 9 points in the group would be great. Would allow us to concentrate on the league. But let's be perfectly honest. West Ham could not only lose this game, but we could lose this game and still quite comfortably finish top of the group. There you go. I said it. I only say it so as whatever, in 2 or 3 months' time, when somebody says, oh, you say every game is vital and crucial, I'll be able to say, no, go and check that Olympiacos preview. I didn't say then. So anyway, good game tonight, be really important. There's a number of things I want to see. I've discussed most of that in the preview. I do think it's really important, though. One thing I didn't mention too much is about getting Miles into Mavropanos' legs. The Kurt Zuma situation is worrying the hell out of me, quite frankly. It's getting worse. I do think it's getting worse. I'm talking his fitness, core fitness, mobility, stuff like that. I think we have to be in a situation whereby if Kurt Zuma gets injured, that Mavropanos is just ready to drop him in there straight away and he's ready to go. Let me get to this David Moyes story and Tim Steidten story. So it was an article from Football Insider. And I was really surprised to read the article because they were quite forthright with their words. Their words were that David Moyes and Tim Steidten had almost come to blows because of, for footballing reasons, because of the direction the club was going. And it was suggesting it was because of transfers. That they'd almost had a fight, that they were very close to having a fight. And that was the impression it created. And I thought, wow, this is quite inflammatory stuff. Well, I mean, first of all, you really need to be able to, if you're going to say that stuff, you sort of need to prove it. I think there's certain things you can probably say, like from a source or this, that and the other. But I think it's got to be relatively benign stuff. If you're going to start suggesting that director of football and a manager are close to fighting each other over transfers, then I think you probably need to substantiate those claims. I really do. I just think it's a little bit more mischief making. Look, I'm all for having a go when it's called for. I thought David Moyes got his tactics wrong the other day. I mentioned that I think he should probably ditch his tactic of playing Hlozek, Alvarez and Ward-Prowse in the middle. I thought Antonio was crap the other day. Look, I'll call things as I see them, but to suggest that Moyes is close to fighting Tim Steidten is, I don't know. I thought it was quite fanciful. But off the back of that, other articles have sprung up. Now, we saw this during the international break. One article seemed to be doing the rounds that Thomas Hlozek was going to leave on a free to go to Inter Milan. And it was cleared up really quickly. The club confirmed it to everyone, to ex-West Ham employee, to Claret and Hugh, to TalkSport, to loads of people. The club said he's got a 4-year contract, he's just signed one. There's no story to see here. We discussed it 2 or 3 times on this channel. But it didn't stop. It was relentless. The BBC started running it. The Daily Mail started running it. Big sports websites were running this story that Hlozek could sign for anyone in January, any foreign club in January, because he had less than a year left on his contract. It wasn't true. But the fact it wasn't true didn't matter. Everyone started piling in and making stories off the back of it. And this is what's happened with this story about this supposed fight between David Moyes and Tim Steidten. So now people are reading into it and saying, well, David Moyes is not going to sign a new deal. I don't know whether that's true or whether it wasn't. It was a sort of a story before this, but now people are saying he's not going to sign it because he doesn't get on with Steidten. I heard something completely opposite 2 weeks ago, by the way. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure there has been heated conversations when one person wants one player and another person wants another player. But look, Liverpool have got a transfer committee. I'm pretty sure there have been times when Jurgen Klopp's been sat round there with whoever their director of football is at Liverpool and had, heated words. I'm just sure that's just what happens. Then there's been this list. Apparently, West Ham are now supposedly drawing up a list of potential candidates to replace David Moyes because of this supposed row. Honestly, I just think it's absolute nonsense. Firstly, I would hope West Ham have got a list to replace David Moyes anyway. I hope they're not waiting for a punch-up before they start compiling their list. But I just thought it was a little bit negative, and look, you can be negative if you want. Be negative because we lost 4-1. There's reason there to be negative. Don't need to make something up. So I just found it a bit of a weird one. What I found myself doing was refreshing the story all day. I'd kept on going back to it, thinking it's going to come down. But it didn't. The story probably still up there now. Another thing that's really weird story, Adam Hlozek. Remember him? I mean, we were linked to him all the time. He was at Sparta Prague, if you remember. And the next greatest thing, of course, in Czech football, it was the natural link to make, wasn't it? Of course, because we had Sufal, we had Souček, Krasinski came in. We had. I think we probably had the first, second, and third option to sign Adam Hlozek. We didn't. So it's weird. It's weird to read these stories. If you put in now into Google West Ham Adam Hlozek, you'll see loads and loads of stories. West Ham are apparently scouting this player, and West Ham are looking closely at this player. Where has this stuff come from? West Ham don't need to scout Adam Hlozek. West Ham know everything about him. You know everything about him. We all do. I mean, this was news from, let's be fair, 2.5 years ago, really. And, well, I think he's 21 now. We were linked to him when he was 18. You'll remember that. And apparently as replacement to Michail Antonio. I just find the link absolutely bizarre. I really do. Now, don't get me wrong. I think had he have gone to the Bundesliga and been tearing things up, if he was now doing what the fella is doing, the fella's doing for Stuttgart, for instance, the striker there, then I'd think, all right, you know what, fair enough. He was top scorer in the Bundesliga and outscoring Harry Kane. I'd think fair enough. But I think Hlozek this season, certainly at the point when I checked, which was a day ago, had scored 1 goal. That's it. I mean, he's not saying he's crap, but actually, to be fair, probably would be a good replacement for Antonio, wouldn't he, actually, in that sense? He might be a very, very fine player. I just found it a really odd link, and they were reporting it like West Ham didn't know who this player was. West Ham will have a full and extensive dossier on this player. I do want to speak about Michail Antonio, actually, before we finish. Let me quick pit stop and change my glasses. Right, listen to this. You're going to listen to this, you're going to think, Antonio, just shut up. Anyway, he's been talking again. This is what happens when I guess you've got a podcast and stuff like that. He's talking about Jarrod Bowen. He said he is a bagsman. I don't know what that means. It's a bag. I don't think it means like a hotel porter. Everything he is touching is just turning to gold. That's Midas, not bagsman. He's get old mixed metaphors here. He said, but hey, it's going to cost a lot of dough. What, the gold? I don't know. Hold on, let's go back to the start. Michail Antonio said he is a bagsman, talking about Jarrod Bowen. Everything he's touching is turning to gold, but hey, it's going to cost a lot of dough. I think he means Bowen and not the gold, because I think gold, he said, the man has just signed a 7-year deal. He said, the money you get from Mohamed Salah, you're going to have to give it to us. For goodness sake. He's quality, left-footed, and plays on the right-hand side like Mo Salah, so he's the perfect replacement. But hey, it's not going to be easy to get him out of here. It won't be easy because he signed a 7-year contract that he's just signed. Yeah, cheers, Mikey. Well, I'll tell you what, it might not be easy to get him out of there, but Antonio's sounding like his agent here, isn't he? Crikey, leave it alone. What's wrong with him? He was was it Liverpool? Was it Liverpool that he opened his trap up before that and started saying, I don't know, I might have it wrong. I've got it in my mind that before the Liverpool game, he'd opened his cake hole and he was started to talk about how West Ham were going to do a number on Liverpool. I might have that completely wrong. If I do, I apologise. But my word, come on. He's got a podcast. I guess he's got to talk about something, hasn't he? Don't talk about Jarrod Bowen, though. He could talk about David Moyes and Tim Steidten. Had a punch-up, apparently.